How will you rate the current administration's economic policies and its impact on Nigeria's GDP growth rate in the past year?
Thank you again. Compliment of the season. I think the policies have been, you could say, the good, the bad, the ugly, depending on which sector of the economy you are looking. If you are in a sector that's largely driven by importation, you see it has been an ugly year. If you are in a sector that is, you have to look for funding, you will see it has been a very bad year. And if you're in a sector that it has to be in the financial sector or the oil and gas sector, you will see it has been a good year. So depending on that, and for the GDP, I think the GDP has improved, output has improved, especially in the oil and gas sector. We have seen that improvement in oil production. We've seen the non-oil sector also come in stream. We've seen, despite the challenges, the manufacturing sector seems to be doing well based on the data we are getting. So um, you could say in the area of the GDP, yes, we've seen improvement compared to where they were last year. Then again, like I said, it depends on which side of the device you are. It has been the good, the bad, the ugly.
All right. Let's talk about the Central Bank of Nigeria. It's been trying a number of policies actually aiming to stabilize the economy. We've seen a review of the NPR, you name it, here and there. Many times the CBN governor himself has had to have a few meetings to ensure that this happens. How effective do you think this has been?
Well, I think the CBN has been doing trial and error all through the years. I mean, they come up with this policy today, come up with this policy tomorrow. They've not been able to create that stability, and I think that's a major problem. But again, they have moved from a high level of instability to a corridor of stability, and that corridor is between 1,650, 1,500, and sometimes. So definitely, that means they are beginning to see a corridor in terms of stability corridor. But in terms of maintaining stability via some of these policies, they've not been able to achieve it because the key issue in the Nigeria FX challenges is has to do with the retail sector. And that retail sector, they've not been able to address liquidity to that space. Just of recent, they said that the really change can access the official market to get FX. But that again, that's a short-term measure from 19 to January 30th. So they've not been able to get a solution, a long-term solution. They are looking at recapitalization. But before the recapitalization, what are you going to do to boost liquidity in their retail sector? The guy that wants need 500,000, I mean, need $500 per $1,000. The person that wants to pay a visa fee and they are saying that you need to come up with $200 to pay a visa fee, even if that's not a legal tender. Have you been able to address this issue? Those are the pressure that we're seeing in the retail sector. So until that is addressed in terms of injection of liquidity and a very good monetary policy to that space, you continue to have that challenges. Yes, they've come up with more transparent way, and now they will remember will kick up the digital platform whereby banks can now bid for PTAs and BT for their customers through the digital platform, and it hits your account. Yes, transparency and integrity is what we want in the market. Is coming in gradually, but they need to boost liquidity because the challenge of the naira is not just in the fact that you have the policy, is if you attract more liquidity to that space, especially the retail sector.
Hmm. But what suggestions can you recommend to improve the current fiscal policies that we see today?
I think number one, we should stop doing the copy and paste method. You know, our economy is different. Our we have a unique economy. If you say you want to hike interest rate, you are killing little businesses because cost of funding goes up. If you say you want to reduce liquidity in the system, you are killing the most productive sector of the Nigerian economy, the smaller business, especially in the rural area. So you are driving a lot of people into poverty. And so we need to look for an homegrown solution to our problem. And most of our problem can be addressed when we look at the precarity. I give you an example like inflation. How do you address inflation? You just address inflation in Nigeria by stabilizing the exchange rate and reducing high costs of borrowing, and then inflation will naturally come down. So, but if you decide to say, okay, you want to reduce liquidity in the system, then you'll be fueling more inflation. So the challenge is how much of homegrown policy have we been able to embark upon to grow our economy For me, I would recommend whereby we look at the precarity of our economy and begin to address it. We mustn't use the normal policy of, oh, we want to fight inflation, you reduce liquidity, you hike interest rate, you make sure that you are killing one sector of the economy. So we need to look at how do we do that. I think mostly we have to look for an homegrown solution, and some of those homegrown solutions will come when we begin to have that contact with our market women, contact with those that are SME business, saying how can you help their businesses grow? How can you come up with fiscal policies that will help those business grow? How can you come up with monetary policy to complement what the fiscal policy are saying? That's the only way we can grow. But if we continue at this rate that we are going, it will be very difficult.
All right, Mr. Muktar, I'm sure you followed the presidential media chat, the first after a long time the Nigerians have been calling for it. What stood out for you in some of the president's statement regarding the policies and the current economy that we find ourselves in today?
I think what stood out for me is the boldness that he believes in his policy, and he knows. We seem to think maybe he doesn't know what's happening. He seems to know everything that has happened. That was stood out for me. He seems to believe in his policy. He seems to believe that the policy is hitting the right note, even if we have our doubt about it. He feels that the data are helping him, even if those data. I think more or less is the belief and the confidence and the way he didn't hold back in talking about some policies that are very controversial. He believed in those policies, and he thinks those policies could turn around the economy. For me, that was the takeaway point. Outside of that, I think it's still more or less like a lot of promises, a lot of into patient. And then sometimes I don't know who the advisors of the president, because sometimes, or is it the president is saying, he said just 18 months. 18 months is not just, it's not just in an administration. So he need to know that you get more confident. If governance is all about love and truth. And then when you have Lord, it's a trusting. It's all about the people trust you. Are you doing policy that they love? And then integrity is paramount. And they need to begin to do that. One area that I saw that the president said things, and it's very disheartening. When the people say, look, the cost of governance is high, your cabinet is very large, the largest in the history of this country. And he said, look, I will not reduce my cabinet. I will continue to do what I don't think that was right, because again, you are telling the people to tie their belt, and then you are losing your own belt. And this appointment comes with a lot of largesse. It's not that it's just come an appointment. You see the convoys that follow most of these people. You see that special advisors already in the newspapers, senior special advisors only on cars, about 2 billion has gone on cars alone. So I think you should look at that and be able to tell Nigeria, because you came in, you say you were going to reduce the cost of governance, and already governance has gone up.
Well said. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us here on News Now.
Thank you for having me.